Hello there and welcome back to another review. So keeping with that Godzilla vibe, that Godzilla theme, I thought we'd have a look at the fifth film today in the Godzilla franchise. Made actually the same year as Mothra vs. Godzilla in 1964. This film was actually rushed into production as Akira Kurosawa's Red Beard had fallen behind schedule, so Toho needed a movie sort of to take its place that was going to put people in seats at the cinema. So this film was very much just sort of chucked into production. It was a very speedy process in getting this film underway. King Ghidorah, now with the pronounced, some people say Ghidorah, some people say Ghidorah. I don't even think I have a preference. I think I mix it up whenever I mention the name. I think sometimes I say Ghidorah, sometimes I say Ghidorah. It doesn't really matter however you say it. Even in like when these films are dubbed, sometimes the characters in different movies say his name differently. But we're probably going to stick with Ghidorah throughout the course of the review. So with the monster himself, of course, with the look of Ghidorah and just the way sort of what the monster entailed, I mean, of course, it proved difficulties on set with multiple wires that were needed and used. The monster himself being based on sort of an homage to, I think it's Yamata no Irichi, if I've said that right, who is sort of an eight-headed and eight-legged dragon-like serpent in Japanese mythology. I think the idea, you know, sort of at this point was, you know, the notion of monsters being awakened by nuclear testing. It's sort of, I think they realised, Toho, that's only going to go on for so long. Like, you can't keep, yeah, we want to keep making monster movies, they're doing really well, but at the same time we can't just have it, okay, new monster, it's a result of nuclear testing every single time. I mean, you had Mothra, who's sort of worshipped as a god. You had, usually other than that, it was always sort of nuclear testing and things like that. So I thought with this film in particular, they did venture out. This is when the franchise did start to go to, you know, strange new places. You know, it slightly to get the idea is like Ghidorah as a monster from outer space. Okay, so they're bringing in that sort of sci-fi element now, rather than just letting it all be sort of a result of like a monster bit like that was born or sort of was made or, you know, created due to X and X or whatever happened on Earth. Ghidorah is like a space monster basically. Shoichi Hiroshi was in this, who was in the Ghidorah costume, would spend hours at a time hunched over in the suit whilst puppeteers moved their heads, tails and wings. Obviously, like I mentioned, problems arose, wires getting tangled, heads getting tangled up, wires getting caught on the scales, you name it. Just when you look at the Ghidorah costume and just how, I mean, the problems must have been so magnificent. I can imagine the wires getting caught frequently, and I'd imagine it'd have been a complete pain to sort of operate and things like that. As I say, non-stop problems. This is quite monumental, this movie in the franchise, by the way, because we get the introduction of one of Godzilla's most formidable and most famous foes in Ghidorah, and this was really the time when Godzilla became, like I mentioned, if you remember my Mothra versus Godzilla review, it was around this time, this was when Godzilla was sort of slowly becoming the good guy. This was when he was very much, I mean, if you look at King Kong versus Godzilla, Kong is labelled as the sort of the quote-unquote good guy. But with this film, this is when he sort of become like a hero and was not portrayed as like an antagonist as such. Like, you know, Godzilla may have been a pain, but, you know, Ghidorah was just bad news all over, right? This was the whole idea with Ghidorah. It was just basically just bad news, right? This is one bad monster. And I think it's safe to say Ghidorah is probably Godzilla's most famous foe, most famous villain. I think that's sort of universally agreed upon that, you know, Ghidorah is sort of the main sort of antagonist when it comes to Godzilla movies. Like with the previous movie, a lot of people rate this one quite highly when it comes down to the Godzilla sequels. I mean, you get your monsters in this movie. We have Godzilla, we have Rodan, we have Mothra, and of course Ghidorah. So you aren't ever short of some insane kaiju action and seeing some of the most, if not the most famous monsters from the series in this movie, like I mentioned, along with Rodan, Godzilla, Mothra, you know, and obviously Ghidorah. I mean, there is a reason why, you know, these were in the Godzilla 2000, you know, the 19 movie, as these are the monsters that most fans know. Talking about the 2019 sort of American movie, the Hollywood movie. I mean, this is why them monsters were in that movie, because they're the most universally, when it comes to the franchise, so some of them, well, the monsters that are the most recognized. I mean, I think it's Akiko Wakabayashi plays our princess in this, so I'm sure many of you will know or remember from the James Bond movie of Sean Connery, You Only Live Twice. Probably one of the most Bond, sort of in terms of, like, say, the secret volcano base and things like that, probably the most Bond-esque Bonds, if that makes sense. Very Austin, you can see where Austin Powers got a lot from in You Only Live Twice. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is the girl who's in that movie is in this movie as well. See how easily I get off topic. So let's have a look at this movie and go into it now and have a look at the introduction of Godzilla's arch enemy. So the film opens with some very odd choices of freeze frames with our monsters doing battle. Like, they seem to freeze frame it at really odd, bizarre moments as well. When you watch the opening of this movie, watch when they sort of freeze frame during, like, say, that opening bit. It's really not even good moments where the camera freezes. And start with these people looking for UFOs. The people there blame Noku, who is a reporter, as to why nothing happened, because she had her doubts and they can read brainwaves or something. They're sort of looking out for, like I say, sort of UFOs and things. She's there. She's sort of a non-believer. These people blame her because they can read like brainwaves. We learn there is a heat wave and it's the middle of winter and a meteor shower happens. Her brother Shindo is like a cop detective and is assigned to protect a princess who is visiting Japan because there are fears that she may be assassinated and targeted. I love how they just get a local cop to sort of just do sort of protection where this very important sort of princess is coming over. Let's just get a local policeman to do it. So whilst on her plane heading for Japan, she hears this voice telling her to flee, and she jumps out of the plane right before it explodes, right? She just bails out of the plane blows up, she jumps out. I mean, what about the poor pilots, the airplane staff? And although this, you know, this being has sort of possessed her, we never actually see or find out how she survives jumping out the plane. She's been sort of possessed, but it's never sort of made clear how she sort of survives, as far as I know. But as I say, you know, whatever, you know, I'm not sure how she survives. So whilst this is going on, a professor is investigating the meteor showers around this dam. So the princess is now preaching to the public, telling people to wake up, Earth is doomed, and to be prepared for its destruction. And also she's claiming as well that she is now from Venus, okay? So yeah, this is sort of the plot we're dealing with here in this movie. So we cut to Shindo and Noku at home with their mum, and there is the TV show on with these two boys that want to meet Mothra, and the twin fairies from the previous film appear, and sadly we learn one of the Mothras has passed away. Remember, there was like twin larvae at the end of the last movie. One of them sadly has passed away, we learn, but the other one is doing okay, thank goodness. Then they sort of sing a song so people can sort of see Mothra, which is a bit weird. It's like they can somehow get everybody to see Mothra after they sing this song. It's a bit trippy, this movie in places. So Shindo recognises the Venus woman in the paper, and as the princess, I love how the people that want her dead have like these Elizabethan collar ruffs on and all dressed like kings and jacks from a pack of playing cards. You know, whatever, you know, let's just go with it. So they learn that the plane didn't crash and their bomb wasn't successful, so they send Malmis to take care of her. Reporters want to do a special on the Venus woman who is at this volcanic crater, as sort of preaching again that Rodan is going to awaken. One guy loses his hat and another guy is after a quick buck. He's like, I will get it for you. And when she yells at him to stop, he's like, shut up, crackpot. You'll put me out of business, which did, even in subtitles, that did make me laugh, which is, as I say, just reading that always did tickle me. So naturally, of course, Rodan appears, everyone warned to keep away, and the assassin arrives. Shindu finds a bracelet belonging to the princess because of a local fisherman who sort of gave it to him in order so she could have his clothes. Someone who works for the UFO observation says the woman must have survived because she fell into 2 dimensions or something along them lines. Again, it's just got to go with it. I say she fell into that is what is said, that she fell into 2 dimensions. You know, whatever. So Noko takes the princess to a hotel. All the while a ship she was warning the people about gets attacked by Godzilla. The assassins try to get her, but Shindo arrives to scare them off. At this point, they seem more concerned with the bracelet for some reason than anything else. They just want to target this woman. She's been sort of possessed, so to speak. We got space monsters going. I mean, it's all happening in this movie. It really is all happening. So Shindu and his sisters take her to this doctor, and it's where she tells us of Ghidorah, who is a space monster who wiped out everyone on Venus and warns them that he is already on Earth. Rodan and Godzilla, meanwhile, are fighting near Mount Fuji, and then a meteorite hatches and breaks, revealing Ghidorah. And don't you just have to love how Rodan has a noise like a jet engine, right? Whenever he is flying, Rodan, he always has a sound of like a really souped up, powerful jet engine whenever he's going across the screen. So our favourite twin fairies are like Rodan, Godzilla and Mothra need to join forces, right? They need to team up. We need to get Rodan, Godzilla and Mothra teaming up, because there's no way they're going to stand any chance of beating like Ghidorah on their own. So at this stage, Ghidorah is just going mad and causing loads of havoc, okay? He's just going completely crazy. He's just destroying things, attacking buildings, causing loads of destruction. The twins sing the Mothra song so she can be like summoned and ask Rodan and Godzilla for help. Under hypnosis, the princess reveals she is actually from Venus and escaped to Earth 5,000 years ago. Lost all her abilities, but the one skill that remains is that she can still see into the future and what is going to happen. The doctor is going to give her electroshock treatment, but the bad guys sneak in and turn the dial up way over what is needed, so they don't have to get their hands dirty to kill her. That's the whole... They sort of sneak in, they go up to this like machine, they turn the dials up in order so like they don't have to do any killing themselves. They can make it look like an accident, whatever they need to do. For some reason, the control panel for the treatment is on the outside of the room though. It's not on the inside of the room where she is. Like to turn this treatment, this electro treatment up that she's having done, that you've got to go outside the room to turn it up. I'm not sure if you can't be in the room when it's happening. I don't know. But yeah, they have the dial on the outside the room. Luckily, Rodan drops Godzilla on the power lines, thank goodness, stopping the machine from working. Shindo and the professor fend off the assassins in a shootout. All the while, Godzilla and Rodan are still going at it, right? They're still going hammer and tongs at each other. Even going so far as to play like a volleyball with boulders at one point. Rodan using his head a lot too, and they get quite a rally going on at one stage with these boulders. It's just them hitting this boulder, but I mean, it almost becomes like a tennis match. But yeah, they do quite a little rally in places. So Mothra arrives and is trying to persuade these two new volleyballer stars to help defeat Ghidorah, but of course they aren't interested. They don't want to team up. Not their style. They're not having any of that. Mothra goes in alone and basically gets her ass kicked. Right? Mothra's like, right, if you're not going to do it, I'll have a go. I'll try and take out Ghidorah. And Mothra gets absolutely wiped out. Okay, Mothra gets absolutely her ass handed to her. So she tries to persuade these two to help, and Godzilla and Rodan are like, no, we're not having any of that. Once they see Mothra has been beat, they're like, no. So such is the unity of these guys. I mean, it's okay for us to mess with Mothra, but don't think you're going to. So they go in to help. Rodan just goes for it and just flies head first right into Ghidorah. Godzilla comes in with some nice rock throws and rock kicks, as he always does. So whilst the princess is sort of praying near this chasm, she gets shot by Malmus and falls off this cliff, after which she sort of remembers who she is, because she's sort of praying this little sort of cliffside, and then she gets shot, she falls off, and then she sort of remembers who she is. The assassin gets crushed by like a rock quake. You have to love the Rodan Mothra team up too. I mean, tag team isn't the word. Mothra actually riding Rodan at one stage so she can get higher and shoot her web as Godzilla goes for the tail. So it's basically 3 versus 1 here. And after this 3 versus 1 battle, Ghidorah just wimps out, right? Ghidorah just completely wimps out. He's like, right, I ain't playing no more. And he just flies off. Okay, that's sort of the end to the movie. So the princess gets her memory back as the bullet only grazed her apparently, which caused her to snap out of this sort of trance-like state she was in. She remembers nothing other than Shindo, Shindo saved her. And that's sort of the end of the movie, really. Where these reviews are probably quite quick to some of my other reviews is because the films are not that long, and sort of when there is destruction and there is a monster battle, there's only so much you can really say about that as a whole, you know, because I don't want to take up too much of your time with a lot of these reviews, but there's only so much you can say about, you know, two like monsters, two people in costumes just fighting and rolling around, throwing plastic boulders at one another. So that's why these reviews might be a little bit quicker than some of my other ones. So to round the film off, we get one last shot of Rodan and Godzilla as Mothra swims back to Infinite Islands. And as I say, where Ghidorah went is anyone's guess, but well, at least till sort of, you know, the next movies. But it's a really good film. I think the Godzilla franchise has lost its place at various moments throughout the years. There's been highs and lows, like with any franchise that's gone on for a number of years. I mean, talking of James Bond in this movie, you know, that's another franchise. So you've had highs, you've had a lot of lows as well. But I think, like I say, in terms of Ghidorah has one of the monsters. I mean, he is probably Godzilla's biggest, like I say, adversary in terms, and it's what is great with this film, as I say, you do get bang for your buck in terms of monsters. The plot is a bit out there, as some of the subsequent films after this did tend to get like that, because they were basically, like I say, trying to move away from, okay, this monster was created because of nuclear testing, right? They were trying to come up with something different, something that's a bit out there, different plot device, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This film, all the Godzilla, well, a lot of the early ones, they're silly, you know, but they're silly, fun movies, and that's why there's always a lot to be enjoyed with the original. And I do highly advise anybody, if you're only familiar with sort of the new Hollywood remakes, that please go and check out the originals. It's the same with any movies, any franchise. When Hollywood do their version, their remake, their retelling of something, always go and check out the original, no matter what it is, because a lot of the time, more often than not, the original is always better. The original is always sort of more groundbreaking, more original, and it's a shame that, I mean, I will review the Hollywood movies. Again, Godzilla 1 I thought was really good. I thought Kong Skull Island was really good. But as I say, I want to try and get through, I really do want to mix it up on this channel in terms of like reviews that you get. I do want to review a lot of Kung Fu movies, a lot of Hong Kong movies. I want to do Japanese movies as well, Kaiju movies, Godzilla movies, you name it. But I will be trying to get through the Criterion Showa era box set. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.